Hello. This is the first time for a lot of you?
Yeah.
Fantastic. It is a thrill to be sitting here talking to the man who made this film, Werner Herzog, one of my favorite filmmakers. I just want to jump in, Werner, because I remember the first time I heard about this film, and I was thinking if you had told me this about any other filmmaker in the world, I would have gone, what the hell is he? The notion of making a movie about 2D drawings in 3D struck me as so odd. And I remember probably 20 seconds into the first shot of the cave, all of a sudden I understood this is the only way to make this film. At what point was it conceived that way? Is it something that came along down the line? At what point did you realize this needed to be 3D?
The man who got me into this mess is right here, Eric Nelson, the producer. Eric actually was a producer of Grizzly Man. He got me into that. He got me into Antarctica. It's Encounters at the End of the World. So we have a wonderful story, and he showed me a magazine article, and there were photos in 2D, of course, and it was clear, oh yeah, there's some irregular walls, and it was clear I'm shooting this in 2D. However, I was allowed, it's very rare that the scientists would allow anyone to get into the cave, and I was there 2 or 3 months before shooting started, and I was allowed for 40 minutes into the cave, and there are these wildly undulating walls and recesses and rock pendants, and I just couldn't believe my eyes. And the painters of that time, 35,000 years ago, utilized the formations like a bulging rock would be the neck of a bison that charges you, and I instantly said this has to be 3D. But at that time, all the 3D cameras were very bulky, they were monsters, and so we had to build our own 3D system. An Estonian wonderful technician and filmmaker, Kaspar Kallas, did that together with my cinematographer. We were allowed only to carry into the cave what we could carry in our hands. And there's a very narrow passage at the very opening into the cave where you could only have your arms pressed against your body and a few technical items, and then slide down, climb down. So we had to configure our own camera. And it's a miracle for me that today, what we did there in the data management, all of a sudden allowed to have a restoration of the film in 6D for IMAX theaters. So I'm a very lucky man, and I'm a lucky man that you, my first audiences in an IMAX theater, could have seen it. It's a wonderful moment for me. It's a wonderful moment.
I can only imagine, and watching it at the end, I was struck by just how well it worked, how well it blew up. And I've been wanting to ask you, had you ever, in the previous years before this, thought about doing anything in 3D before? Was it something that was intriguing to you, or did you just not?
No, I never thought about it. In fact, I do not like films in 3D. But in this case, it was mandatory. There was no way around. And of course, you have to imagine a situation. There's a cave, and it was sealed some 28,000 years ago by a collapse of the rock face. It was hermetically sealed for 28,000 years. The air was stagnant in there. It was opened, it was accessed by 3 scientists. And now what happened to other caves, Neolithic and Paleolithic caves, like the very famous in Lascaux in France. Too many, tens of thousands of tourists pass through it, and all of them exhales humidity, all of them has bodily vapors, and it attached to the colors itself and created a mold which destroys the colors, and this mold cannot be really stopped. So it was absolutely clear, if we allow anyone in only the absolute necessities, we had only 5 days of filming, but only 4 hours each day. We could never leave the metal walkway that you see in the film. We were allowed only 2 small pedals, cold pedals of light that most of the time I would operate, and I would move them along to create shadows in a recess, for example. So there was a very clear understanding between, I saw what the cinematographer Peter Zeitlinger did, and I would move my light in a way that it became very exciting and alive. So restrictions upon restrictions, and they're understandable. They're understandable. There are tracks in the sand of a child and tracks of a wolf next to it, but too far away from this metal walkway. We were not allowed to film the tracks, so I only could mention it in my commentary. So, but it doesn't matter. What we were able to film is the essence of these caves, and I will never be allowed back again into it. And that is that. And there's an entrance door which is like into a bank vault. It was opened only for us in the morning, closed behind us, and then we were left for 4 hours, no support from outside. We had, for example, one morning, everything always checked before, and all of a sudden the data recordings management was not functioning. The battery, a very odd kind of voltage. So these 2 guys, the cinematographer and Caspar Callas with a Swiss army knife, took batteries from a battery belt and constructed a separate new camera within an hour, and we were in business. So it's really ingenious sometimes what we had to do, and of course I would pick up everything that was fascinating. It's all there, and you are a witness.
Were you, I find it maybe a function of the 3D as well as how beautifully it's shot, but there's moments in the film where I just want to, when you talk about it being restricted as how far you could go and not getting off the platform, and there's moments in the film where I just want to jump off and go in. Did you ever find yourself wanting to do that? Did you have to combat that, or are you?
No, I had to be professional. I was only working and coordinating, and we had to be quick. But sometimes when we were ushered out, there was always some guards with us. When we were ushered out, I was loitering behind. All of a sudden, I'm all alone in the darkness and with my light. And I had the feeling, I had the very strange feelings. Eyes were upon me. And it was not only me, some of the scientists tell me the same, as if there were observed eyes from those guys from 35,000 years back in time. They look at you. And they're us.
Yeah. I do have to ask, I might be remiss, can you talk about the white alligators a little bit?
Albino.
The albino mutant alligators?
Yeah, well. Shooting was over, and we were traveling home in a van. The cameras were packed away. But nearby I had heard was a biosphere with crocodiles. And I said, let's have a look at it. I'm just curious. And we bought a ticket and walked in, and right next to the entrance, there are these small albino crocodiles. And I said, oh my God, I was hit like by lightning. And I said, unpack the cameras. We have to film this. And the cinematographer, Peter Zeitlinger, says, what for? And I said, I don't know exactly, but I know it belongs somehow. How would they see the art? How would they, and there was 9,000 feet thick ice here at the time of Chauvet Cave. And how would it be in 35,000 years from now in the future? So and everybody in the audience loves, it was so wild that I said, I have to do it in the postscript. Everybody who has seen the film always speaks about it. They never forget that. And you know why? Because audiences like to be taken under the arm and taken right in the realm of sheer poetry and imagination. That's what I give you.
It is so true. I saw it recently for the third time in IMAX at 3D, and you could put a gun to my head. I could not logically explain why they're in the goddamn movie, and yet, as the applause here tells you, they belong there. They do belong.
Yes, and I didn't know exactly what the connection was. I knew, you see, I'm a storyteller, and you know there's something big, and it is so big. Big stuff always melts together, always edits, cuts together, creates a story. Only mediocre stuff does not make a good film.
Yeah, I read something recently too. You talked with great eloquence about how much you loved seeing this in IMAX, and I was wondering if you had thought about are there other films in your catalog that you might, ideally in a dream world, go back and blow up to this size?
No, I don't have any plans. I actually made a film recently, which is on Disney Plus and Hulu, Ghost Elephants. Shouldn't be in 3D. I made a feature film with Kate and Rooney Mara as sisters, very close, so close that they speak in unison. And never would it occur to me to have it in 3D. I'm filming right now a new movie and editing. Never should it be in 3D. But if it becomes mandatory and the subject itself, the content dictates what you are doing and what methodology you are employing. So I would not exclude it, but I'm not a 3D guy.
Right.
I like that we are forced in 2D to see the third dimension and live with our emotions into and through the screen and through the souls of the protagonists on the screen. If they become 3D, I'm not emotionally that attached to them. It's very strange. It sounds like a contradiction, but I'm not a 3D guy.
But how about the size, though? If you were to do a film in
One-
2D,
I mean,
would you ever?
Yes, of
Would
course.
you ever do a Gira in IMAX? That feels to me
yes.
like
Again, the Wrath of God,
Yes, I'd love to see that on this screen.
Had I known IMAX would be invented, you know. But I was a
Couldn't you remaster it?
No, I shouldn't. You don't remaster it, no. But I was a kid. I was a kid of 28 or so when I did it, 28, 29. And I couldn't imagine that one day there would be IMAX theaters. They came a generation later. They are late arrival in my life. But so what? Let it be. Let it happen. And of course you can show Aguirre, the Wrath of God in 2D on a screen like that. It looks wonderful. And I've seen similar, not as perfect as an IMAX screen. Of course, there's also a question of the screen ratio, because films that are more like vertical, a tendency towards vertical would be perfect. And Aguirre is only in the opening sequence a vertical film. Hundreds of conquistadors and native Indians
shot I keep wanting to
coming
see.
down on a
Yeah.
zigzag, almost vertical path out of the clouds. So otherwise the film is horizontal.
Yeah, I'd also think maybe Fitzcarraldo could be kind of.
No. No, to move that ship move that sucker over a mountain without the third dimension.
Oh no, but I just need large.
Large, yes. You should sense this boat was 340 tons. So move that. Move it for me.
Yeah. So you can't go back to this cave, correct? That you were saying why you can't go back to the cave because they're no longer letting people in? Is that?
Well, nobody's allowed in there. Of course, scientists come during a very specific, short season of 2 or 3 weeks, and they continue to do their research. So the research is going to go on for at least 5, 6, 7 decades from now. So there's a lot of work still to be done. But they built a replica nearby. There's a replica which is open for tourists, of course. But I haven't seen the replica. It's probably fairly good, but nothing is like this cave. And the silence in the cave, and the solitude in the cave. And by the way, the music, the power of music in this cave. The soundtrack is very important for the film.
When you're deciding to do a film, any film, feature film or documentary, is there a moment where you know this is the one you want to do, and can you enunciate how that works, or is it just a feeling? Is it...
Sure. No, there's not a feeling. I wouldn't trust feelings easily. But I visited Eric Nelson at his production. He had 4 or 5 films in the making at the time. Editing bays were very active, and he had helped me with another film to find a co-financier, and I was very thankful. He didn't want to have any money for it, no credit, no finder's fee, and I paid him a visit to thank him. So he took me around. At the end, there was this table. We sat down, and after a short time, I left, and I was looking for my car keys. I had misplaced, I swear to God, I was not looking for a movie. I was looking for my car keys, and they were somewhere there. A lot of messy things on the table. And Eric thought I had spotted something, pushes an article to me and said, read this, we are doing a very interesting film. And I went home, only 20 minutes away, read it, and immediately was back, because it was so big. It was so big, I had to do it. And I somehow started to usurp the film and squeezed myself into it. But I think I was the right one to do it. And Eric, as a real producer, had the instincts and had the vision. Do it with his crazy Bavarian.
A good instinct, I would argue.
So I thank him forever for this insight.
Eric, should I reveal the last time we were all in this theater together?
Come here and show you.
Yeah.
Show you.
Eric Nelson producing the film, and he's responsible for.
This is Eric Nelson.
And that film, by the way, was Grizzly Man.
Yes.
What did I say?
You didn't mention the title.
Grizzly. So yeah, sure. Apologies, Grizzly Man. Okay, Eric. Yes, you may. Yeah.
We were. I shouldn't ask you too much about this, but Eric, what was it, December of many years ago? Yeah, go ahead.
The last time that the 3 of us were at City Walk was in December of 2009, when we took over a theater for a Christmas party at our office, and it was Avatar. And we took over the whole theater, so we had tons of extra seats. So I started calling everyone I know, Josh, our friend Harlan Ellison, and Werner Herzog. So Werner came to City Walk, and we saw Avatar in 3D, and that absolutely was when the light bulb went off to say, this thing we've been talking about, this works, this is kind of good. If I remember, Werner, your comment on leaving Avatar was, the Colonel, he's the only one who knows what's going on.
Should we throw it to the audience?
Please.
Anybody have any questions?
Can we
Out
have
there.
more light in the,
Is there a little more
in the
light? Yes, we
audience?
can.
Can we turn more light on so that we can see you?
And if you'll say it loud enough, and then I'll repeat it for the audience. Sir, there's a hand up there. I can't tell if it's a... Yeah, you. I'm looking right at you. You seem to have a beard. Yeah, you.
Could-
If it's me,
Could we
I
get
guess
more lights
my
into the auditorium, more general light?
Hi, my name is Miguel.
All right.
Hi, my name is Miguel del Campo, aspiring filmmaker. I believe I talk for everyone, so I'm a little nervous. I believe I talk for everyone when I say that watching this in the big screen on IMAX really was such a magical experience. So my question for you is, considering the future of the industry, do you still feel hopeful considering the things that are happening right now, considering like AI, like censorship, like layoffs? What are your thoughts about the industry as we live in right now?
Yeah, he's a young, starting out filmmaker.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, he loved the film. Does everybody here? I want to know what your thoughts were about the state of the industry right now with kind of AI and mergers and censorship and so forth.
Forget about AI at the moment, because whatever we see from AI in terms of movie scenes or scripts, it's all dead on arrival. It's soulless. So don't worry about it. But you are a colleague of mine now, and you are lucky that you are growing up in the digital age, which I didn't. I had to start 35mm celluloid, very clumsy, very expensive, very time consuming. So today, and I keep preaching it to young filmmakers, you can roll up your sleeve, take your heart in your hands, and make a long documentary, 1.5 hours, movie quality for under $10,000. And you can make a feature film with actors. I mean, if you give them part of the revenue, and so you can make a feature film with digital cameras, digitally edited for under $50,000. And this is paradise all of a sudden. However, the real problem remains, where do you show it? Which streaming is going to take it? Which studio is going to pick it up? Of course, they won't do it spontaneously. Either you make 3, 4, 5 films, like I made short featurettes in 35mm, and it was always money lost, but film gained. And I lived through 3 or 4 or 5 methodically orchestrated defeats until all of a sudden people said, man, there is somebody out, we should support him. So you have to accept to go through a period of defeats, but you are in good shape. And probably what you have to do is you have to gang up with peers, the generation, your generation, and you probably have to start your own streaming platform. You have to do, now when I started in Germany, there were no producers who would produce our films. So we started our own production companies. Wim Wenders, Schlöndorff, Fassbinder, we did that. I had to finance my own films because nobody would ever finance anything I was proposing. And I was only 15 years old, 16 years old, thrown out of offices of producers under really humiliating sort of kicking me and getting me out. And I thought, you are idiots. I have something really good there. And I started to work the night shift in a steel factory as a welder. And I worked for 2 years night shift in a steel factory while I was in high school during day. But I had earned enough money to make my first 3 featurettes with it. So I had to be my own financier. We started our own film festivals. At that time, hardly any festival existed. We started our own film subsidy law. We started our own distribution company. So, and probably what you have to do, you have to roll up your sleeves, and you probably have to start your own distribution system. Otherwise, you will be stranded forever. Good luck to you.
I do want to ask you a question, because you've been doing this for a few years. What's your favorite thing about your job, Werner?
Well, it was fairly primitive because welding is a great art. But I did point welding. It's
No, I mean this job, the job you have now. What is your favorite thing about that?
Sorry, I thought about welding.
Hey, do you guys want to hear about welding? What is your favorite thing about the job you have now?
Well, I have struggled, and I'm still struggling at my age to get my films off the ground, but I have never compromised, never left my vision, never sold out, never done a commercial, because I have my problem with consumerism, which is destroying our planet. It's one of the things that such a huge percentage of the human population on this planet is in consumerism. It's an outrage that 40% of food is being thrown away. Imagine the amount of fertilizers, transport, fabrication, sales in supermarkets, deep freezing and so on. You are wasting too much resources of our planet. So, what can I say? I've never done a commercial because of that, but I have somehow managed to do the films I really wanted to do. And of course I have suffered many, many defeats, and I'm a product of my defeats. You see, you're thrown to the ground, but it's a way, how do you get up from that? How do you continue? How do you maintain your pride and your dignity and your integrity? That's a long-term sort of thing, and you have to brace yourself for it. And of course, I'm a storyteller, and I love to tell stories. I love what I do. And you see, I'm old enough to retire. I should have retired 20 years ago, but no, of course not. I love what I do. I love everything what I do, including writing, editing, directing, acting, including acting. And I'm a real good villain in movies. So, but I do it. I do it because I love what I do. And so that's what it is. And while I'm sitting here, I'm having a finished film which nobody has seen yet, and I'm working on editing of yet another new film. So, but I'm not a workaholic. I'm not a workaholic. I write screenplays very quickly. Gary, the Wrath of God, 2.5 days. Normally it's 5 days that I write a screenplay. Well, you can write 20 pages easily in a day. So you write 100 pages in a week.
Sure.
So, yes, sure. And I shoot. I do not shoot what they call coverage from every angle. I know what I want to see on the screen. So my shooting days in a feature film are normally over at 3:30, maybe 4:00 p.m. That was what happened in Ireland with Bucking Faster. Nobody could believe what? You call it quits now? Yes, I said I've got it all in the can. And I edit very fast. So I edit almost, and I exaggerate now, almost as fast as I can think. Because digitally editing goes fast.
Yeah. So you're not one of those purists about film and the old way of editing.
I love film, and I grew up with it, and I'm still, I know about the charm and the depth and the beauty of celluloid, but I'm not nostalgic. I want to be at the forefront, and I'm at the forefront. I've been in contact with surround virtual reality, and I've been on the forefront as an actor in Mandalorian with a round horizon where you don't need a green screen anymore. I'm at the forefront with many other things. I do not want to be nostalgic and sit down, oh yeah, everybody should still do celluloid. Right. No, if you've got a good story, it doesn't matter if it's on celluloid or digitally recorded.
I think we have time for
What was the
one.
temperature in the cave?
What?
What was
the temperature in the cave?
That's a good question. It was slightly cool, and they maintained, but I don't remember. But there was a question here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being here. Seen this movie several times. I'm a big admirer of your work. A lot of your movies deal with quite profound subject matter. And you said you love what you do, but I always wonder, do you dream about the movies you make? Do you wake up about movies that you make and have sometimes nightmares about movies that you make? Like, for instance, in the case of Into the Abyss, about the execution of that young man. I just wonder what goes through your mind at night.
Nothing. It's awful because I do not dream. You see, all the shrinks in the world tell you, every human being dreams so and so much, so and so many hours per night. I'm the living proof that they're all wrong because I do not dream, and you can wake me up at any time at night, and I have not dreamt, but I feel it as a void. I wake up with a void. There was nothing. Damn it, nothing. Very rarely I dream, maybe every 5 years. Last time I had a dream, and it's only banalities. 4 years ago I had a dream, and my dream was that I had a sandwich for lunch.
Did you dream as a child?
No, I do not remember that. I do not have nightmares, and I like to sleep long hours. I like to work short hours, but sleep long hours, which I actually do. If at any time I can sleep in, I would do that.
I am with you. We have one more? Oh, okay. I told we have time for one more question. I'm sorry. Your beard was covered. No.
Something you said during your interview about the music, how important that was, and I really agree with that. And I was just wondering if what was the influence for it? Because it was very ethereal. There were a lot of, I just want to know what was going through your process and what was the process of the soundtrack, which I think was a very important part of the movie as well. Thanks.
Well, I do have very intense working relationships with musicians, with my composers. In early films, it was Florian Fricke or Popol Vuh. Now, since the last, 16, 18 films or so, Ernst Reisiger, a Dutch cello genius and also composer. And we are very specific. For example, I said to Ernst for a film, I want to have your cello, but I want to have Sardinian voices, Sardinian folklore singers. They sound like prehistoric, something strange, prehistoric about them. I need this here, and there has to be, in whatever is out there, has to have a certain sacrality. It's like you're going to church, you're going to mass, and when you enter the cave, the music carries a sentiment of something sacred, and so in this way, I have a very, very easy and very clear understanding with composers. And sometimes I'm very, very, very specific. Very often, and I like to be with them during the recordings. I'm with them, I'm not in the control room, but I'm with them in the right next to the instruments, as if I were a musician. And I remember Grizzly Man, Richard Thompson recorded the music, and I was with them, and they recorded the first piece, and within 20 seconds I said, Richard, stop it, stop it, stop it. You see on the screen there's this majestic landscape and bears, and there's a protagonist, and I said, the music as you are doing it is cautiously sneaking into it. I said, stop it, put your foot down, put your foot down, this is the law of the land, give it to me. And he understood it. So, but it's good that I'm with the musicians.
Do you play any instruments at all? Or?
No, I wish I could, but because of a school little tragedy, I excluded myself from music for 5 years, between 13 and 18, which was really, really bad. And I should have learned an instrument. I would give you 10 years of my life if I could play the cello, like you can breathe without thinking anymore. But that has eluded me, and it's okay. I don't need to be able to do everything.
And also, probably most cello players want to be directors too, so it all kind of works out that way.
Well, I don't know. I don't. Was this a trick question?
No. Speaking idiot. Werner, Herzog, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming. Thank you all for coming.